Kara stepped off the shuttle and onto the wide metallic surface of the Academy's landing platform. The air smelled faintly of ozone and polished metal, a scent common to every space station she had visited, yet foreign in its sterile sharpness. She adjusted the strap of her small bag and looked around. The Academy was immense, a tower of silver spires that glinted under the sun of this distant planet. Alien students moved in groups, their voices strange yet musical. Their forms varied in ways she had never imagined, some tall and multi-limbed, some slim with translucent skin that shimmered in the sunlight. For a moment, Kara simply stood, quiet, letting her dark eyes take it all in. She had walked through worse worlds than this, survived creatures that would have scared even the bravest soldiers. This academy, no matter how strange, was nothing compared to her homeworld, the Deathworld. That planet had taught her patience, observation, and precision. It had taught her that strength was more than muscle, that survival required thinking, not just fighting. As she made her way through the entrance, whispers followed. Aliens noticed the human girl. They had heard of humans, but few had seen one. Kara's small frame, her calm posture, her silence made her an easy target for attention. She ignored them. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the room. Every movement, every shift in posture, every glance could reveal something useful. It didn't take long for trouble to find her. A large alien, easily twice her size, approached. His skin was a deep bronze, ridged with natural armor, and his eyes glowed faintly green. He moved with confidence, each step shaking the floor slightly. His name, she had already overheard, was Grith. He was a well-known bully among the Academy students. Human, Grith's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "What are you doing here?" "This is not a place for small, weak things like you." Kara did not answer. She tilted her head slightly, her eyes meeting his, calm and unreadable. The crowd of aliens around them chuckled and whispered. Some tried to hide their curiosity behind casual expressions. Others stared openly, waiting for the human to break under pressure. Grith stepped closer, towering over her. "Do you even know how to fight? Can humans even survive a day in this academy?" Still, Kara did not flinch. She did not move. She simply sat down cross-legged on the floor, her hands resting lightly on her knees, her posture perfect. A ripple of laughter went through the alien students. "You sit?" "You were already defeated," Grith said, smirking. Kara's eyes did not leave his. She was observing, noting every detail, the way he shifted his weight, the tension in his muscles, the way his claws flexed. She noticed the uneven tiles beneath his feet, the way he moved his head slightly before every gesture. To an outsider, she appeared weak, but inside her mind, calculations were happening rapidly. Every movement of Grith was being analyzed, every possibility considered. "Do you even know patience, human?" Grith asked, his voice edged with irritation. "I can crush you with one hand," Kara finally spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Strength is not everything. Timing matters." The words made some of the aliens pause. They had never heard a human speak with such quiet confidence. Grith laughed, a deep sound that shook the air. "You are brave, small one. Brave and foolish." He circled her slowly like a predator studying prey. Kara's gaze followed him calmly, never breaking. Every movement he made, she mirrored internally. When he stopped, she noted the slight imbalance in his stance. The way his armor plates overlapped created small gaps at the shoulders and neck. Little things, but on her world. Such details could mean the difference between life and death. The crowd's laughter grew, sensing the tension. Many assumed it was only a matter of time before Kara cracked, but she did not. She remained still, her breathing even.
Eyes.
Her mind working silently. Grith reached out suddenly, attempting to shove her aside. Kara did not move. Instead, she shifted her hands slightly, catching his wrist at the precise angle. The surprise on Grith's face was brief. He jerked his arm back instinctively. Kara had not lifted herself from the floor, yet she had redirected his movement with minimal effort. A murmur spread through the crowd. They had not expected a human to counter so subtly. Kara's lips curled into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. She had no desire to fight, not yet. She only needed to show that humans were not weak. Grith's frustration grew. He tried again, more aggressively this time, aiming a punch toward her midsection. Kara leaned slightly to the side, not much, just enough, and his fist hit the floor with a heavy clang. Her small movement had amplified his overconfidence against him. The aliens gasped. One whispered, "Did she just—" "Yes," another replied. "She is controlling him without moving much at all." Grith stumbled back, confused and angry. He had never been challenged like this before. His size, his strength useless against a calm, calculating opponent who did not need to stand to respond. Kara's silence was a weapon. Every second he wasted guessing her next move made him weaker. Every twitch of muscle he made was being recorded in her mind, stored for future use. For hours, the Academy observed the quiet human girl. Grith tried to provoke her again and again. He shouted insults. He moved aggressively, and he attempted to intimidate her with displays of brute force. Kara did not respond with anger or fear. She remained seated, serene, her dark eyes locked onto him. She allowed the crowd to watch, letting them see the contrast between human patience and alien arrogance. Other students began to take note. Humans were rare, and humans from Deathworlds rarer still. They had heard stories of human survival, of ingenuity beyond anything aliens could understand. Kara was living proof. She had walked through environments that would have killed stronger creatures. She had survived storms of acid rain, predators with claws sharper than Grith's, and days without food or water. To her, the Academy's bully was nothing but a minor nuisance. By the time the sun dipped low in the alien sky, casting long shadows across the courtyard, Grith was exhausted not from physical effort, but from frustration. He had been attempting to dominate Kara all day and had failed repeatedly. Every display of aggression had been subtly countered, redirected, or nullified without Kara ever rising from her seated position. Kara finally spoke again, her voice calm and even. "You underestimate humans. That is your mistake." The alien students were silent. Even Grith, panting slightly, stopped moving. He glared at her, but Kara's words carried weight. Her composure, her knowledge, her subtle demonstrations of control. Everything about her said that she was not to be trifled with. For the first time that day, Grith hesitated. The human girl had not only survived his attacks, but had turned his strength against him in ways he did not understand. The whispers of respect began to circulate among the alien students. Kara was not just a quiet human. She was a force that demanded observation and caution. When the day ended, Kara stood briefly not for confrontation, but to leave. Her movements were smooth and deliberate. She had no desire to escalate further today. Grith, for his part, watched her leave, a mixture of anger and reluctant admiration on his face. The lesson had been clear. Humans were not weak. Humans were patient, clever, and unpredictable. As Kara walked back to her quarters, she allowed herself a small smile. The Academy was larger, the challenges greater, but she had already begun to make her mark. Observation, patience, and precise action, these were her weapons. And Grith, like all who underestimated her, had learned the first lesson. Never judge a Deathworld human by appearance alone. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more alien students trying to assert dominance. But Kara was ready. She had survived harsher environments. She had learned to see the unseen, anticipate moves, and act with precision. The Academy might think it could break her spirit. It would fail. Kara sat quietly in her quarters that night, the faint hum of the station around her. She closed her eyes briefly, thinking not of fear, but of strategy. Every encounter, every movement, every glance at tomorrow's lessons was a chance to learn, to grow, to prove that humans, even one small human girl, were more than anyone could imagine. And so, in silence and calm, the Deathworld girl prepared. The Academy did not yet know it, but it had just met its first real human challenge. The next morning, the Academy's courtyard buzzed with activity. Aliens of all shapes and sizes were practicing, training, and socializing, their voices creating a chorus of strange sounds. Kara arrived quietly, carrying only her small satchel. She had slept well, meditated, and reviewed every movement she had observed from Grith the day before. Today, she would test patience in a larger way. As she stepped into the courtyard, Grith spotted her immediately. His green eyes glowed brighter, and his massive shoulders tensed. He had not forgotten the humiliation of yesterday. The whispers among the alien students were still fresh in his mind. For a creature who valued strength above all, the thought that a human could resist him without standing was unbearable. "You, again," Grith growled, striding toward her. "Did you think you could sit quietly forever?" Kara remained calm. She lowered herself to the ground, cross-legged, hands resting gently on her knees. Her dark eyes met his without fear. Around her, the courtyard seemed to hold its breath. Grith circled her, more slowly this time, analyzing her. He noticed something different. Kara's calmness had not wavered. Her silence now felt like a shield. He felt a strange unease, as if she had a power he could not touch. "You are clever, human," Grith said finally. "But cleverness does not save you from strength." Kara tilted her head slightly. "Strength is useless if it is not applied wisely." Grith's clawed hands flexed. He lunged suddenly, testing her reflexes. Kara shifted her weight just enough, and his hands barely brushed her shoulders. She did not rise. She did not flinch. Her calm, precise movements kept him off balance, and she subtly redirected his momentum so that he stumbled slightly. The crowd gasped. A few aliens whispered, "How can she do this while sitting?" Kara's mind was a machine. Every twitch of Grith's body was recorded, every attempt to intimidate noted. She had learned patience on her Deathworld. There, the smallest mistake could cost your life. Here, she could use the same principles. Observing, waiting, predicting, patience, timing. Grith growled in frustration and tried again, this time using a training stick to simulate an attack. He swung it fast, assuming the human would be unable to dodge or block. Kara tilted her head, noting the timing of his strikes and the weakness in his grip. With a slight motion of her hands, she redirected the stick harmlessly to the side. Grith's surprise was immediate. He was beginning to realize that brute force alone would not work. "Why do you not fight properly?" Grith demanded. "Are humans really so weak?" Kara smiled faintly. "Weak? No, underestimated." "Yes, that is your mistake." The aliens around them murmured in confusion and admiration. Some had never seen a human act with such quiet confidence. Kara's strategy was simple, yet brilliant in its execution. She would not react with violence. She would not show anger. She would only observe, wait, and use intelligence to control the situation. Grith tried every method he knew. He shouted insults, tried to push her, swung his arms and training tools. Each time, Kara adjusted with minimal movement. She leaned, shifted her hand slightly, or applied a small pressure at a key point, enough to make him stumble. The crowd's whispers grew louder. "She is controlling him," one alien student said, awe in their voice. "Without standing." "Yes," another replied. "Humans are dangerous in ways we do not understand." By midday, Grith's frustration reached a peak. His pride hurt more than his muscles. He was not used to failure, especially not against a human. Kara's calmness, patience, and subtle manipulation of every tiny detail were breaking his confidence. Then Kara noticed something else, an opportunity. The courtyard had uneven floor tiles, small gaps between the panels, and metallic ridges. She had observed them yesterday, noting how Grith's massive feet shifted awkwardly on them. A single misstep could throw his balance completely off. When Grith lunged next, Kara simply shifted her hand, moved her wrist slightly, and allowed him to stumble over one of the ridges. He almost fell, catching himself at the last moment. The crowd gasped again. Even Grith felt a flicker of fear. "Impossible," he growled. "How can a human do this while sitting?" Kara did not answer. She only watched, calm as a still pond. Her mind worked faster than any muscle could. Every movement, every pattern, Every reaction was anticipated. She did not need strength. She had precision, timing, and intelligence. A small group of alien students started to approach Grith cautiously. They had seen the human girl's patience and control, and some felt nervous about how the situation would end. Kara, however, did not notice them. She focused entirely on the bully in front of her. Grith attempted one final, desperate move. He lunged with both hands, trying to grab Kara and force her up. Kara tilted her head slightly, moved her hands in a way that redirected his energy, and he stumbled again, this time hitting the ground with a loud thud, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to shock him and the crowd. Silence fell. The aliens stared in disbelief. Kara remained seated, untouched, calm and precise. She had not even stood up, yet she had neutralized the threat. You humans? Grith gasped, struggling to rise. I do not understand. How can you do this? Kara's voice was calm, almost gentle. You relied on strength. I rely on observation, patience, and timing. Strength alone cannot overcome strategy. The crowd began to murmur excitedly. Some whispered, humans are more than we imagined. Others simply stared, speechless. Kara's reputation was growing. She was no longer just a human girl. She was a symbol of subtle power, patience, and intelligence. Grith sat on the ground, defeated not by brute force, but by strategy. Kara had proven that humans could control situations in ways aliens rarely considered. The lesson was clear. Underestimating a human was a grave mistake. As the day ended, Kara collected her satchel and walked to the Academy's common area. The alien students whispered behind her back. Even those who disliked humans could not deny the skill, patience, and intelligence she had shown. Kara's quiet demeanor, her calm observation, and her precise movements had turned the bully into someone who would think twice before challenging a human again. In her room, Kara reflected on the day. She had survived multiple attacks, observed countless patterns, and used the environment to her advantage. The Academy might be large, and the challenges many, but humans were capable of far more than aliens imagined. She had proved that even a small human girl from a harsh Deathworld could control a much stronger opponent with strategy alone. Tomorrow, new challenges would come. New bullies, new obstacles, new tests. But Kara was ready. She had learned the first lesson of the Academy. Patience and intelligence could triumph over raw power, and as she closed her eyes that night, Kara smiled faintly. The Academy did not yet know it, but it was about to witness the rise of a human whose mind and precision would make strength irrelevant. Humans, she thought, were underestimated, and that was exactly the advantage she intended to use. The Academy courtyard was alive again the next morning. Alien students from every corner of the galaxy filled the space, practicing, laughing, and competing in friendly matches. But all eyes were on Kara. Her reputation had grown overnight. Word of the human girl who could control a bully without standing had spread like wildfire. Many whispered her name with curiosity, some with respect, and a few with caution. Grith, the bronze-skinned bully, was still tense from the previous day's humiliation. Pride was a dangerous thing, and he could not bear to let a human undermine it. Today he decided he would reclaim his image, or at least try. Human, called out, as Kara entered the courtyard, his voice carrying across the crowd. I will not be humiliated again. You will stand, or you will feel my strength properly this time. Kara looked at him calmly, dark eyes unflinching. She did not rise from the ground. Instead, she sat cross-legged, hands lightly resting on her knees, exuding the same quiet confidence that had unnerved him yesterday. Strength without strategy is wasted, she said softly. Grith growled, flexing his massive arms. He lunged, faster and more aggressively than before. The students gasped, expecting another confrontation. But Kara did not flinch. She had spent hours studying every move of his body, every reaction, every sign of tension, as Grith moved. Kara shifted her hand slightly, just enough to redirect his energy. He stumbled, catching himself barely in time. The crowd began to murmur again, amazed at her precision. "You rely too much on brute force," Kara continued. "It is predictable. I am ready for you because I have patience, and I observe carefully." Frustrated, Grith tried another tactic. He grabbed a nearby training rod, swinging it at her from above. Kara tilted her head slightly, her hand moving just enough to guide the rod harmlessly to the side. Each small motion, almost invisible, demonstrated her control over the situation. Other students watched, whispering nervously. Humans, they realized, were not what they seemed. Here was a girl from a harsh Deathworld, capable of neutralizing threats far larger than herself without rising from a seated position. Grith's confidence wavered. He had been strong enough to dominate most beings in the academy, yet Kara remained calm, untouchable, and clever. He tried to intimidate her with noise, shouting insults, and pounding his chest, but Kara did not react. She remained silent, observing. Her mind worked like a machine, predicting his next moves and calculating the smallest angles of leverage she could use. Then Kara noticed a subtle shift in the courtyard tiles beneath him. Yesterday, she had paid attention to the uneven surfaces. Today, she could use them to her advantage. She adjusted her hands slightly, shifting her weight with barely a motion. Grith's foot caught on a slight ridge. He stumbled, his momentum thrown off. Kara's hands moved like lightning, gently guiding his balance so that he could not recover. The crowd gasped. Aliens whispered among themselves. She does not even move, yet he cannot stand properly. Kara's calmness was her weapon. She did not attack. She did not lash out. She simply allowed him to move, to stumble, and to expose his own weaknesses. Her precise understanding of physics, leverage, and timing gave her complete control. Grith tried to roar, to make a final desperate attack, but his body betrayed him. Each movement he made was already anticipated, redirected, or neutralized. The more he struggled, the weaker he appeared in front of the watching crowd. Finally, Kara spoke again, her voice low but firm. "It is over, Grith. You have relied on strength alone. That is why you cannot win." Grith froze, realization dawning. The student bully, the one everyone feared for his power, had been outsmarted, while Kara barely moved. The lesson hit him hard. Humans, underestimated and ignored, were capable of far more than he had imagined. The crowd erupted not in mockery, but in awe. Aliens, who had once laughed at her, now watched with respect. Some bowed slightly. Others nodded in quiet acknowledgement. Kara had earned more than victory. She had earned recognition of human ingenuity. Grith sat on the ground, panting, defeated but unharmed. Kara's control had been absolute yet completely non-violent in nature. She had proven that patience, observation, and intelligence could dominate even the strongest adversary. "Teach me," Grith muttered finally, his voice low, mix of respect and disbelief. "Teach me your patience, your strategy." Kara smiled faintly. "Strength is useful," she said, "but only when guided by thought and timing. Humans learn to survive first, fight second, and control always." From that day forward, Kara became a figure of admiration at the academy. Alien students sought her advice, curious about how a human could display such calm control and precise action. Kara's methods were subtle, often invisible to the untrained eye, but undeniable in effect. She had shown that humans were not merely fragile beings, they were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of extraordinary control over situations far beyond their size or strength. Over the following weeks, Kara continued to sit quietly through challenges. Each time a bully attempted to assert dominance, she remained calm, observed, and acted with precision. By the end of the month, humans were no longer underestimated at the academy. The legend of the Deathworld girl who could control anyone without standing spread throughout the student body. Even Grith, once the most feared bully, had changed. He no longer attacked out of pride, but instead approached Kara for guidance. He had learned an important lesson. Strength alone was not enough. Intelligence, patience, and observation were far more powerful. Kara, however, never let her pride show. She remained humble, quiet and composed. She did not need to boast. Her actions spoke louder than words, demonstrating the unique capabilities of humans in ways the aliens could not fully comprehend. One evening, as the Academy's sun dipped below the horizon, Kara sat in the courtyard alone. The soft hum of the station surrounded her. She closed her eyes for a moment, reflecting on what had been accomplished. Humans were underestimated. Yes, but now the Academy had learned that patience, strategy, and intelligence could turn the smallest human into a force unmatched by mere strength. A new chapter awaited her at the Academy. New students would come, new challenges would arise, and Kara would continue to demonstrate that humans, though small and often overlooked, were capable of greatness in ways others could never predict. For Kara, the quiet Deathworld girl, the lesson was simple: never underestimate a human. Strength could be broken, pride could be shattered, but cleverness, patience, and precision, those were unstoppable. And so she sat, calm as ever, watching the stars begin to glimmer in the alien sky. The Academy had learned a powerful truth: humans, even a single human, could bend situations to their will without ever rising from a seated position. The legend of Kara, the Deathworld girl, had only just begun.